Welcome to the Becoming a Principal podcast, a podcast for aspiring educational leaders. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Matt. We are high school administrators in Ontario, Canada, and we're excited to share our experiences with you. This podcast is designed to provide inspiration and support educators considering leadership roles. We plan to discuss a range of topics related to educational leadership to help you on your journey to become and thrive as a school leader.
In this episode, we'll be discussing strategies for building trust and connection with a focus on communication. Last episode, we discussed communication strategy as it relates to social media. So we'll build a bit on that conversation and look at ways that we use communication to build trust and connections within our school community.
All right, Jordan. So I got a question for you to start this. You ready for it?
Sure.
All right. So could you give us an instance where you feel like, as a leader, you've communicated effectively to resolve a challenging situation?
Yeah, there's been many that I think have handled well, but also lots that, with some deeper reflection, could have handled much better. Obviously, reflection is important, but there have been some times definitely where there's been conflict. You can feel it kind of coming, whether there's two parties maybe that are in disagreement about an outcome of some sort. And getting people on the same page it's not always going to happen, but at the end of the day, good communication skills help move something forward. As long as both parties are committed to what that looks like going forward, it's not always going to be the best solution for one party or the other, but getting to a point where, people can agree to move on is essential. So yeah, I would think that instances where I've felt that has worked well is setting up a scenario where people feel that they can actually share without being judged, setting up a safe space where people believe that there is going to be an outcome that they'll be able to handle, creating an environment for that, and then setting up a space where people can definitely feel like they're being heard is for me would be the first step. And I would say the situations that have gone well for me has been when I've taken the time to do that and given it the time that it needs to be resolved. So the times where it hasn't gone well is because I probably rushed. I didn't maybe listen as well as I could have. I maybe didn't take the time to hear from all sides of the dispute or whatever it might have been. So yeah, I would say the biggest thing for me in having a good resolution is really just creating the time and understanding the various perspectives of the people involved in the potentially challenging situation. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. It makes sense. I feel like, even getting to this role, we've had lots of opportunities, you and I, to practice effective communication. Because what I think about, too, is, time as a program head where I'm trying to lead the instructional program within a department and I'm trying to share the school's vision or the department direction, and you're thinking like, oh, I didn't land that just based on other people's reactions or the questions that followed or even other people's actions, and you can just reflect like, okay, what went wrong in that situation to make people think one way or another or create that confusion. And I just think that getting an opportunity to practice effective communication, because it's hard. Like, I think what you were talking about, like you outline a plan of communicating, and it's not just, sending that email or even having that meeting. Like, there's more to it than that. And actually, it takes a lot of time and thought. And, I think I've come to realize that over years of trying to communicate a vision or a program or something like school goals or anything like that. And you just realize that you really have to pay attention to detail and also kind of anticipate what questions might come up or where the communication could fall through in that meeting or in that difficult conversation or whatever that might be. So you're ready for a response to that. I feel like taking the time to do that ahead of time makes things go so much more smoothly.
That's a great point. And definitely time is really important in getting a chance to actually hear how the other person thinks. So the more you let someone else speak, the more you'll have an insight as to their perspective. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes as leaders or whoever, maybe we're the mediator or whatever, we control the situation in some way that maybe sometimes we think that we have to have the answers, and the answers might not be coming from us, truthfully. So taking the time to like perspective build is really important, and maybe it will clear up some misunderstandings. So what one side might have heard might not be what the other person intended, or what they might have heard had to do with their own bias. There's just so much kind of unravel there when conflict occurs, but getting to like just an understanding of how whatever side you're on, how that person or those people perceived the situation, and getting an understanding of where they're coming from, and that takes time.
Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, that's a nice segue into our second talking point here. So let's talk about active listening and how that fits into our own leadership style. You want to tackle that one to start?
Sure. So again, it's all about, I think, taking time to listen to people. And when you say active listening, that's obviously part of communication. But, it's important to, again, create common understanding. So if someone is sharing something with you, even just like paraphrasing it back so that you're acknowledging that you understand, and then maybe when you paraphrase it back, they're like, no, that's not really what I meant. Until you get to the point where, oh, okay, I get what you're saying, and then you have some time to kind of work with it then. But sometimes it lands, like you send an email and everyone kind of gets it, and then sometimes you send it and it could be confusing for people. Mm-hmm. But it's important that people are able to kind of give you that feedback, and then you take that feedback and do something with it. Yeah. And then again, creating an environment where you're able to do that, where people feel like they can write you back and say, hey, you missed something, or did you mean this? Or
that's a good sign.
Yeah, that's what you want, because then you can actually like do something with that. That's a whole other topic, really. But being able to take that feedback and then change and modify the message next time is important. What do you think? Like, I know we talked about I think you're kind of looking specifically about taking feedback from people in your community or people that you lead. So how does that relate to that? Active listening relate to that? Yeah,
well, that's getting to people to trust you too. I feel like we all have people that we lean on. We all have like trusted colleagues, no matter their role, and just being able to welcome that feedback. Because we want to improve ourselves as leaders. Part of the reason why we're doing this podcast and sharing these ideas, and we're not going to get that if we just think that we're going to do the right thing all the time. Like we're not. We're going to make mistakes, and it's nice to get that feedback from other people on how you're doing. But then the other thing is like you really just have to take it and not be so quick to jump in and say, well, yeah, but at this time I was thinking this. It's like, well, yeah, but that's how we're going to lose the trust in people, or close that opportunity for the feedback from colleagues or other people in the school. And I just feel like it's really important that you really just take that and just have an opportunity to reflect on it, rather than trying to dominate that conversation, because that shuts other people down too, and then they're not going to want to come to you the same way. Absolutely. Right? It's definitely a fine line between feeling as a leader that you need to have all the answers, or you set a direction, and if you know in your heart that it might not be going the way it's supposed to go, to like adjust course based on the feedback that you're getting, that's not easy to do. And people think that it's, maybe that's like kind of not giving up, but giving in maybe. Yeah. But really you're just taking that feedback, being open to it, and like maybe changing course based on what you're hearing from other people. So, I mean, that's an essential skill, and sometimes I think especially new leaders have a hard time with that, or changing course based on new information they have. Yep. But that comes from listening. So. Yeah, that's right. Okay, I'll move to the next question. I'll ask you this time. All right. So, similar to what we were just talking about in terms of active listening, creating conditions for that to occur. The question really is like, how do we foster as a leadership team or yourself open communication with our interested parties in our school community? I have a couple ideas that I was thinking about when I saw this question. I think number one is for us to be visible, not always sending an email to people and not communicating that way, having a more personal touch. So we're pretty good at getting out in the morning and checking in with teachers And I would say I've had a lot of conversations with teachers just by being in the hallway and poking my head into classrooms and saying good morning, or saying hi at lunch, and just grabbing them that way. And I feel like it is working, where teachers are sharing information with me, or they're quicker to come down because now I've built this relationship with them, talk to me in the office about a student, or help them navigate a situation. And so that visibility piece and connecting with them, either in a group, attending their department meetings, or team teaching meetings, or whatever that might be, or one-on-one, that's really been a valuable experience. And the second part of that, I was thinking about fostering that communication between people. And I feel like the way we conduct some of our activities at program council, that's a meeting of all our department heads, or through professional learning opportunities, where we randomize the groups. So we get educators talking to one another that they might not run into on a regular basis, because our school is a pretty big size, and we have people spread out all over the building, and we have people in portables. So giving them the opportunity to connect with people that they don't normally connect to, and have them share ideas and thoughts on whatever we might be talking about in those sessions, really helps foster that communication between people in our school.
That's great. And I think you definitely touched on some of the things that you do, like actions that you take to kind of build trust with staff. So, I mean, wasn't really planning for this question, but I think that what you're saying kind of struck a chord with me in terms of, so yes, we're visible and accessible. Is there anything else that you think would help people trust you? Like, what other things besides that? Because we talk about those things a lot, for sure. Like, we want to make sure we get out and have those conversations. But is there anything else? Is there anything, like another level where people are like, yeah, okay, like this person's, like, I can trust this person, so then they can be open?
Oh, yeah. I think it's also following through on helping support teachers, too. So when, I feel like a lot of educators, when they come to me and they need help with a scenario, I know they need help, right? So I'm there, and I've got their back. I'm supporting them in communication with students or families. I just feel like that helps build the trust, and really helps them come to me the next time too, and say, hey, you know what, like, this person supports me, and then you develop that kind of reputation amongst the staff in the school.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I think, it's hard because it's a very emotional line of work, and people can get very invested in, their dealings with students or with families, and there can sometimes be some defensiveness about their own work. So being able to have staff that truly trust that you have their best interest at heart, and are able to maybe take even like snippets of advice that you're offering to try and move something forward, that does take time to build.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, it takes a lot of time to build those relationships, and it comes through, like you said, being visible, being accessible, showing your competence in different areas, whether it's through conflict resolution, they see you in that, and just again, being able to provide that counsel that they might need. So there's definitely lots of ways to build trust, but you're probably not going to get open communication right off the bat.
Right.
That takes time. So as a new leader, I think you're probably hoping that's going to happen really quick, and you think modeling it might be a good way to do it too. But it doesn't always come back until like the rubber meets the road on working through a situation, and they saw how you handled it, and now I'm going back, because that's like clearly they're invested, right? They see that from you. So you nailed that. I totally agree. Like, once you sit with them in those situations and acknowledge that, hey, like, your job's pretty hard. We see that.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
We see it. We're here.
Yeah.
We're here with you, and we want a resolution that's going to work best for all parties involved too, right? So I think it's just a lot of reps.
The reps help,
Yeah,
and the reps
help.
walking with those people help too.
That's right.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Jordan, how would you handle a difficult conversation with a parent or a guardian? Because, we're in the business of customer service, right? So a lot of our job, or a lot of our day-to-day, is working with families to support their student. And those conversations don't always go the way we were hoping for, right? I think, it's my firm belief that they're looking out for the best interests of their child, as are we. And sometimes there's tension between those two, between the school and the family. So how do you help navigate that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it does something that comes up a lot in our roles, obviously. When there is conflict, sometimes we're in sort of the middle of mediating that. And sometimes there's parents that are coming in, really heated about a situation that occurred at school, and they want some answers. So addressing those concerns is obviously important, because at the end of the day, we're, like you said, in the customer service business, and at the center of that customer service is students. So I think if that's the forefront of at the top of our mind in all the conversations we have, whether it's with teachers, parents, and whatnot, that's like the starting point. But then also, again, being ready to maybe handle knowing that it's coming, a difficult conversation, or maybe it's a parent that might be venting about whatever, allowing that space for that to happen, and just definitely not taking it personally. Even if you were involved in the reason that they're upset, if you're part of it, whether it's a decision you made or an outcome that came to be and you were involved in it, allowing that space for them to do that within reason, because people need to treat you with respect, obviously, but knowing that that emotion needs to subside to actually get something moving forward. Because if we're in that heightened state where we're all emotional, like nothing's going to move forward. Mm-hmm. It's only going to go a bad direction. And then, the goal of all those conversations is to preserve the relationship with the family and the student and the school. The absolute worst outcome is leaving a meeting or conversation with a parent and student that feels unsettled, or that both parties are not happy with the outcome. So, because that doesn't preserve the relationship and it doesn't give hope for the student moving forward. So, like, again, my go-to strategy is first to listen, and to even acknowledge and be open if maybe you made a decision that you didn't have all the information on, and being comfortable owning that. That's not easy, and I think, again, through like repetition of times where this happens, because the same things do kind of come up, different profiles come up, and similar situations seem to kind of come back to us, and having more opportunity to go through those, I think, hardens you or prepares you in a way to handle them. So,
yeah, just like that. That touches on so many things that we already talked about. But you're right. A lot of times, parents just want to be heard, right? So not being quick to judge them, and then the other piece is like preparing for that conversation too, like getting all the facts straight. Just taking your time with preparation, knowing that. Like maybe you need to call a parent and say, you know what, I'm going to learn more about this scenario. I'm going to gather some information, and I'm going to give you a call back. Sometimes that needs to happen ahead of time before you have the conversation, just because you're not ready and not equipped to have that conversation yet, but taking that time to do your own due diligence and gather all the information that you need to have a good conversation with the parent. I think in the long run, it works out. And I think when the parents realize that you also have the best interests in mind, you acknowledge that they have their child's best interests in mind, and hopefully, like you said, preserving that relationship with the family. Obviously, that's priority number one, and getting to a place where their student can be successful, or the situation can be resolved, and for both parties, that's the ultimate goal. Yeah,
and I think at the end of the day, a parent would want to see that you know their kid. And mm-hmm. that's not always realistic in a big school. Mm-hmm. So preparing is part of that. So if we're going into maybe a difficult conversation with the parent that you just don't have that much interaction yet with their student and know them well, it's very important to, maybe glean from other school staff that work closely with that student kind of a bit about what they're, who they are, so that when you come to that, meeting, you're not some random person. You're someone who's taken a bit of time to get to know, apprise yourself of the situation. So you're not, you're speaking with some understanding, or maybe even a compassionate lens as well, because there might be something you don't know about, maybe a recent history of the student, or something prior that maybe just not have been a top of mind for you, because you're brand new to the school and you don't have that context as a vice principal or principal. So connecting with people that actually work with the student prior to, if you're able to, is very beneficial.
Yeah, there you go. Great. That's a great way to end this. So there you heard from us some of the communication strategies that we're thinking about to build trust and connection with staff and students in the community. I'd like to hear some of your own ideas too as we continue through this. Obviously, that idea of trust and connection is going to be coming up a lot through our podcast and many different episodes. It's such a big part of what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the main thing, because without that, really, you're not going to build much, right?
No.
Awesome. All right, till next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to Becoming a Principal podcast. We're grateful for the time again that you spent with us, and we hope we've been helpful in some way to you. Be sure to check out our Instagram at Becoming a Principal podcast. Have a great day, everyone.